In the shadows of luxurious mansions and secret islands lies a trove of information that promises to reveal more than the world has ever seen. The Epstein files, documents, lists, emails, and photographs, are not just ordinary records, they are the key to exposing the powerful, their connections, and secrets hidden for decades. Every page tells a story of influence, greed, and dangerous secrets. While the world watches in disbelief, only a few have access to what these files truly uncover. This is a journey into a dark world where law and morality collide with the interests of the richest, and where the truth can be deadly. It all began with mysterious documents that suddenly emerged from the shadows of his life. The files contained names, dates, photographs, and emails linking powerful figures to his private island and luxurious residences. Every page revealed a web of connections that seemed almost impossible to untangle. Politicians, businessmen, celebrities, all part of a story the world did not want to see. As investigators and journalists tried to piece together the fragments, it became clear that these files were not just evidence of criminal activity, they were a map of secret corridors of power, places where law and morality lost all meaning. Each new discovery raised more questions than answers, and the danger of revealing the truth threatened anyone who dared to dig deeper. It all began with a collection of mysterious documents that surfaced from the darkest corners of his life. These files were more than just papers, they contained names, dates, photographs, and emails that tied powerful figures to his private island, luxury residences, and secret flights. Every page seemed to whisper secrets of the elite, revealing a tangled web of connections that was both shocking and almost impossible to untangle. Politicians, businessmen, celebrities, all linked by encounters the world was never meant to witness. Investigators and journalists who gained access quickly realized the gravity of what they held. These files were not just proof of illegal activities, they were a roadmap of influence and corruption, a glimpse into hidden rooms where laws and morality no longer applied. Some names repeated across dozens of documents, patterns began to emerge, and the more they uncovered, the more dangerous it became. Threats, sudden disappearances, and the shadows of intimidation loomed over anyone daring enough to dig deeper. Every new discovery raised more questions than answers. Who knew the full extent of the connections? How far did the influence stretch? And perhaps most chilling of all, what secrets were still hidden, waiting in the dark corners of these files, ready to surface at the wrong moment? As the files were analyzed, certain patterns began to emerge. Flights to remote islands, guest lists of private parties, and transactions that defied explanation. One document, marked with the initials of a high-profile politician, hinted at meetings that had never been publicly reported. Another file contained encrypted notes referencing secret investments and offshore accounts, linking them to individuals whose names were whispered in circles of power but rarely appeared in the media. Photographs tucked into folders showed parties, gatherings, and meetings, some with faces barely recognizable, others unmistakably famous. Each image felt like a piece of a puzzle, a snapshot of a hidden world where the rules of society didn't apply. Investigators began to realize that these weren't isolated events, they formed a map, a dark network of influence and corruption stretching across continents. But the more they uncovered, the greater the risk. Some files were missing, shredded, or seemingly altered. Whistleblowers spoke of intimidation and threats, and a chilling question hung over everyone: how many people in power would go to extreme lengths to keep these secrets buried? With every revelation, the files became less of a story and more of a dangerous force, capable of shaking the foundations of wealth, politics, and fame. As investigators dug deeper, the files began to reveal connections that defied belief. Certain names appeared repeatedly, alongside cryptic notes about locations, coded meetings, and unexplained transfers of wealth. One folder contained flight logs that tracked late-night trips across continents, often to private islands and secluded estates. Another revealed communications between individuals whose public images were untouchable, yet in these documents, they were tied to events no one knew existed. The atmosphere around the investigation grew tense. Sources whispered of hidden safe houses, secret recordings, and encrypted devices that might hold even darker truths. Some files hinted at incidents so disturbing that journalists and analysts alike feared what exposure might trigger, not just legal repercussions, but threats to their own safety. Every lead seemed to pull them further into a labyrinth of secrecy, where every door opened to more questions than answers. And then came the chilling realization: this network was not just about individual crimes. It was about power, power that could manipulate law, influence governments, and erase evidence when convenient. The Epstein files were no longer just records, they were a mirror reflecting the darkest corners of influence and corruption. And anyone who dared to follow the trail risked becoming part of the story themselves. As the Epstein files continued to leak, the world began to grasp the magnitude of what had been hidden in plain sight. Politicians, celebrities, and business moguls faced questions they could not answer, and whispers of accountability echoed through corridors of power. But for every revelation, there seemed to be a shadow waiting to erase it, a reminder that secrecy and influence could never be fully dismantled. The files themselves became symbols of both truth and danger. Investigators and journalists who had once handled them cautiously realized that knowledge carried its own weight, sometimes heavier than the law could protect against. Yet, despite the risks, the documents offered a glimpse into a hidden system, a network where morality was optional, and influence could shield the guilty from consequences. In the end, the Epstein files were more than evidence, they were a mirror, reflecting the darkness that thrives when power is unchecked and secrets are traded like currency. They left a chilling question for the world: how many more truths remain buried, waiting for the right moment to surface? And as the shadows lingered, one thing was clear: the story was far from over.